Whew, it's Saturday. Welcome to the Hero Bells podcast. My name is Kyle McCaffrey, and I am the founder of Hero Bells and your host for the show. Today is episode 22. This is the second installment of the Mindset series where I'm reading from the book Mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. Last episode I read, I guess it would be from the first or second chapter, and gave you a few points that you can take with you and try to implement this in mindset, the correct mindset into your life, and understanding the dichotomy of mindsets, meaning the fixed mindset or static mindset to the growth mindset, just helping you understand what those are, and that you're probably not, because you don't understand these things yet, and maybe even I don't fully. Actually, I know I don't. But I'm practicing. I practice often. And then how you can practice often and put that into your own life. And once you understand how these mindsets work and the dichotomy of these mindsets, it's very freeing. So the last episode I gave you a few of these things to think about. And Dr. Dweck has these questions that you can ask yourself and challenge yourself, and to help you identify what type of mindset you have, or at least which one you're currently in. And the first one was, these are just some phrases that she's going to say. These aren't really questions, but you just have to decide whether you agree or disagree with them. First one was, your intelligence is something very basic about you that you can't change very much. Do you agree or disagree? 2, you can learn new things, but you can't really change how intelligent you are. Number 3, no matter how much intelligence you have, you can always change it quite a bit. Number 4, you can always substantially change how intelligent you are. Questions 1 and 2 are the fixed mindset questions, and questions 3 and 4 are the growth mindset questions. So if you agreed with the first two, you're probably a douche. No, I'm kidding. You probably just have a fixed mindset, and that's something that you can change. And not only that, but the term that is in these phrases, which is intelligence, can be interchanged with things like artistic talent or sports ability. In the case of, probably likely the reason you're here listening to this podcast is because this is related to fitness. Even though this is about psychology, psychology is very, very much prevalent within fitness, performance, athletics, and the like. And it definitely relates to your life. So, of course, I'm trying to be helpful. Whether I am or I'm not, you need to tell me. You can tell me on my Facebook page and on Instagram. My Facebook page is at Hero K-Bells, and my Instagram is at Hero_K-Bells. And of course, you can find this podcast and tons of other material and content to help get you in shape fast and inexpensive and certainly effective on YouTube at Hero Bells. Yeah, that's the one. Apparently, I can't remember my own handle. Anyways, this is episode 22, so welcome. And today we're going to talk about the danger of praise and positive labels. So we're going to get right into the book, and this is Dr. Carol Dweck from the book Mindset. If people have such potential to achieve, how can they gain faith in their potential? How can we give them the confidence they need to go for it? How about praising their ability in order to convey that they have what it takes? In fact, more than 80% of parents told us it was necessary to praise children's ability so as to foster their confidence and achievement. You know, it makes a lot of sense. But then we began to worry. We thought about how people with a fixed mindset already focus too much on their ability. And I'm just going to, little side note here. When she says ability, she means like natural ability, gifts or talents. By the way, I still have a little bit of a cold, so if I sound stuffy, you'll know why. And not only that, my neighbors are incredibly noisy, so if you hear a little dog barking or people speaking rapidly in Spanish and angrily, that's my neighbors. I apologize. I don't have a studio yet. Anyways, back to the book. But then we began to worry. We thought about how people with a fixed mindset already focus too much on their ability. Quote, is it high enough? Will it look good? end quote. Wouldn't praising people's abilities focus them on it even more? Wouldn't it be telling them that that's what we value? Even worse, that we can read their deep underlying ability from their performance? Isn't that teaching them the fixed mindset? Adam Guettel, or Guettel, I think it's Guettel, has been called the crown prince and savior of musical theater. He is the grandson of Richard Rodgers, the man who wrote the music to such classics as Oklahoma and Carousel. I've never heard of either of them. There's a good chance you haven't either. And if you have, pat yourself on the back. Or don't. If you listen to the podcast, you'll understand why I say don't. Guettel's mother gushes about her son's genius. So does everyone else. Quote, "The talent is there and it's major," end quote, raved a review in the New York Times. The question is whether this kind of praise encourages people. What's great about research is that you can ask these kinds of questions and then go get the answers. So we conducted studies with hundreds of students, mostly early adolescents. We gave each student a set of 10 fairly difficult problems from a nonverbal IQ test. They mostly did pretty well on these. And when they finished, we praised them. Pardon me. We praised some of the students on their ability. They were told, quote, "Wow, you got 8 right. That's a really good score. You must be smart at this," end quote. They were in the Adam Guettel "you're so talented" position. We praised other students for their effort, saying, "Wow, you got 8 right. That's a really good score. You must have worked really hard." They were not made to feel that they had some special gift. They were praised for doing what it takes to succeed. Both groups were exactly equal to begin with, but right after the praise, they began to differ. As we feared, the ability praise pushed students right into the fixed mindset, and they showed all the signs of it too. When we gave them a choice, they rejected a challenging new task they could learn from. They didn't want to do anything that would expose their flaws and call into question their talent. Well, I'm going to sip my tea. And, well, I have this to say, because it seems apparent from reading this. I just dropped my phone. That there is an obvious and inherent flaw in how our cultures do things. And I can only speak so much for this, and I can only speak for Western culture. Western culture. And I can only speak very little at that. I'm not really a great representative of it necessarily. But maybe I am. I don't know. But can this be laid at the feet of social media companies? Is it likes, views, shares, and comments? Western society at large, or just people in general? I think the responsibility is on us all to understand how we negatively impact each other and our children with praise. Little caveat here, I don't have kids, but I mean, I have plenty of nieces and nephews. That counts as something. Perhaps we ought to treat it like a drug. Praise, I mean. It's not necessarily that the drug is bad and that it should be forbidden. Rather, we become educated on its power, our responsibilities to it, and our relationship with it, as well as having a clear avenue out of its grips. Not that praise is bad, but it's overused or misplaced and to our detriment. And I wonder, where is the line? I think Dr. Dweck has a more concise answer, which I'll get to, but it's useful to ponder this for yourself. With praise, we seek the comfort of praise. We have entire college campuses with safe spaces that only buttress narrow-minded thinking and ultimately breeding weak people, or worse. The bravery required of us to venture into the new territory of our minds gets a wet blanket thrown at it when praise is poorly administered. As a full-grown man, I know misplaced praise has plagued most of my life, and I see it everywhere. Conversely, my wife grew up in Poland, where she was learning grade 10 algebra at the age of 10, among other more advanced subtopics, and with the opposite of praise. she was rarely praised. And she's super smart and a kind, wonderful person, and she loves to learn. So her and I are actually kind of really good examples of, not that you really know her or me that well, but you can take my word for it. I've gone through a lot of my life being praised, and she has gone without a lot of praise. And our views and how we perceive the world and how we perceive learning are completely different. Anyways, Dr. Dweck continues. When Gittell was 13, he was all set to star in the Metropolitan Opera broadcast and TV movie of Amahi with the Night Visitors. He bowed out, saying that his voice had broken. Quote, I kind of faked that my voice was changing. I didn't want to handle the pressure, end quote. In contrast, when students were praised for effort, 90% of them wanted the challenging new task that they could learn from. Then we gave students some hard new problems, which they didn't do so well on. The ability kids now thought they were not smart after all. If success had meant that they were intelligent, then less than success meant that they were deficient. The efforts kids simply thought the difficulty meant apply more effort. They didn't see it as a failure, and they didn't think it reflected on their intellect. What about the students' enjoyment of the problems? After the success, everyone loved the problems, but after the difficult problems, the ability students said it wasn't fun anymore. It can't be fun when your claim to fame, your special talent, is in jeopardy. Here's Adam Gittell. Quote, I wish I could have fun and relax and not have the responsibility of that potential to be some kind of great man, end quote. As with the kids in our study, the burden of talent was killing his enjoyment. The effort-praised students still loved the problems, and many of them said that the hard problems were the most fun. We then looked at the students' performance. After the experience with difficulty, the performance of the ability-praised students plummeted, even when we gave them some of the more easier problems. Losing faith in their ability, they were doing worse than when they started. The effort kids showed better and better performance. They had used the hard problems to sharpen their skills so that when they returned to the easier ones, they were way ahead. Since this was kind of an IQ test, you might say that praising ability lowered the students' IQs, and that praising their efforts raised them. Gittell was not thriving. He was riddled with obsessive-compulsive tics and bitten, bleeding fingers. Quotes, spend a minute with him. It takes only one, and a picture of the terror behind the tics starts to emerge, end quote, says an interviewer. Gittell also fought serious recurrent drug problems. Rather than empowering him, the gift has filled him with fear and doubt. Rather than fulfilling his talent, this brilliant composer has spent most of his life running from it. One thing is hopeful, his recognition that he has his own life course to follow that is not dictated by other people and their view of his talent. One night, he had a dream about his grandfather. Quote, I was walking him to an elevator. I asked him if I was any good. He said, rather kindly, you have your own voice. End quote. Is that voice finally emerging? For the score of The Light in the Piazza, an intensely romantic musical, Gittell won the 2005 Tony Award. Will he take it as a praise for his talent or praise for his effort? I hope it's the latter. There is one more finding in our study that was striking and depressing at the same time. We said to each student, quote, you know, we're going to go to the other schools, and I bet the kids in those schools would like to know about the problems, end quote. So we gave students a page to write about their thoughts, but we also left a space for them to write the scores they had received on the problems. Would you believe that almost 40% of the ability praised students lied about their scores? And always in one direction, in the fixed mindset, Imperfections are shameful, especially if you're talented, so they lied them away. What's so alarming is that we took ordinary children and made them into liars simply by telling them they were smart. Tells you a lot, really. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been told that I'm smart. And it was weird because, I mean, grew up in a lot of ways pretty self-conscious and timid at certain points. And I, of course, never believed them. But maybe I did in some ways, and maybe subconsciously. But I meet other people who are told they're smart, even though I know they're not, and they behave as if they are. Maybe they behave not as if they're smart, but as if they're too smart. I hope you understand what I mean. But anyway, if you remember the last podcast, I said an interesting quote. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And this is ringing true even more in this podcast. For myself, I had a good echo room of people telling me I was smart, like I just said. I believed them, and perhaps I processed that as a lack of need to actually try. One good thing I do find about social media is that there is a lot of feedback that is direct and indirect. Direct in that some people are willing to tell you what you're good at or bad at, and indirect in that you get a lack of your desired outcome, whether that's a good or bad input that you put into, say, your Instagram page or your Facebook page or your Twitter or whatever. If you're not getting the attention, that's indirect feedback. We use social for a variety of reasons, but attention is the common thread. Almost everybody that goes on to there wants attention for one reason or another. Some people want it for their business to sell something, or they just want attention. They want people to tell them they like them or that they're hot and they're whatever. And some want all of that, which it's hard to determine where the ethical line is because it's pretty blurry. But like I said, we use social for a variety of reasons. Effort in the confines of meaning gives you the best results, genuine results. We all see fake people or less fake people trying to fake it. And those tactics can work, but they don't last or create anything meaningful. I can say for myself that when I try to fake it, I know it, and it doesn't feel good. I never get the reception from the people I admire. When I do something I really believe in, it doesn't have to be the smartest. It has to be genuine. It has to be consistent, as real as the medium will allow. Feeling or looking smart doesn't happen when you try to make it happen because it doesn't really matter. People love effort. I love when I put in effort. People I admire my effort. And that feels good. It's not so much likes. The people that I like and admire, they don't just like the thing that I'm doing. They'll tell me that they like it. You feel good when you put in your best effort for the sake of the effort, not for the sake of the praise. It's a damn good thing that Instagram is getting rid of likes. Not that I believe they did it for the good of the people, like some altruistic thing. I don't buy that for a second. I believe that it gives us a quick breath to realize that it's all a dream, a chance to unflex, to put a shirt back on, to show the blooper reel and question our sense of value in regards to our content. A chance to understand just how foolish we are and where our efforts are better realized. That is the effort. We've been used to being letter graded, GPA'd, and summed up and categorized since we were little. If I've learned a few things in my short 35 years, and believe me, it feels short, is that I'm untying the knots I've been tied into by myself and others, and that I really know nothing. But where I am isn't the result of what I know, but of my efforts. The big question is, how does this relate to fitness? Well, it's pretty obvious, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it isn't to you. Tea. Anyway, if you put in maximum effort, you're going to get maximum results, but you have to get rid of the idea of being praised. Because even if you are praised, it's probably not going to be to your benefit. So go and do it for you. Don't wait for someone to tell you you look good, because it doesn't fucking matter. But the less obvious part is that we all feel at times like giving up. This is your call to not give up. Maybe you slow down, reflect, scale down, maybe scale up. Maybe you've gotten caught thinking you're doing enough. If you're doing too much and not getting results, it's possible you put your eggs in the wrong baskets. You want to get bigger or faster legs, and the training you've been putting time into isn't giving you the results, make a micro adjustment. You'll see how you'll end up somewhere completely unknown. I'm actually talking about myself. For something that bothers me aesthetically is my legs. And there's a lot of reasons why that I don't have the physique that I really want. But of course, in reality, it's superficial. I get a lot of great performance. But I want my legs to be bigger and stronger. That's just a fact for me. But I'm not waiting for the praise. I know what I'm looking for. And maybe you're going through something similar, no matter what this is. Maybe it's performance or maybe it is some aesthetic. That's fine. Whatever gets you off the couch. But you can do it. And it's just a micro adjustment that you need, just something small. So go and do that. I could go on forever. But break down your regimen to its fundamental parts and rebuild. Retreat isn't defeat. You need to praise your efforts by pointing them in the right direction, not by talking to them. Aim true and take the shot. Dr. Carol Dweck gives you a few closing thoughts of her own. I'll provide a graphic of these points on my Facebook page, so don't worry about trying to remember them. I'm just going to talk about them. But my Facebook page is @HeroKbells, and my Instagram is @Hero_Kbells. But listen and think about the following. She says, grow your mindset. Think about your hero. Do you think of this person as someone with extraordinary abilities who achieved with little effort? Now go find the truth. Find out the tremendous effort that went into their accomplishment and admire them more. Think of times people outdid you and you just assumed they were smarter or more talented. Now consider the idea that they just used better strategies, taught themselves more, practiced harder, and worked their way through obstacles. You can do that too, if you want to. Are there situations where you get stupid, where you disengage your intelligence? Next time you're in one of those situations, get yourself into a growth mindset. Think about learning and improvement, not judgment, and hook it back up. Do you label your kids? This one is the artist, and that one is the scientist. Next time, remember that you're not helping them, even though you may be praising them. Remember our study where praising kids' ability lowered their IQ scores? Find a growth mindset way to complement them. And lastly, more than half of our society belongs to a negatively stereotyped group. First, you have all the women, and then you have all the other groups who are not supposed to be good at something or other. Give them the gift of the growth mindset. Create an environment that teaches the growth mindset to the adults and children in your life, especially the ones who are targets of negative stereotypes. Even when the negative label comes along, they'll remain in charge of their learning. And that is episode 22. Thank you very much for listening. And I will be returning next week with the last installment of the Mindset series, part 3. You can find this podcast on anchor.fm, and I will leave the links up on Facebook and on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Hero K-Bells, and on Instagram at Hero_K-Bells. You can also find this podcast, and you can find all sorts of other content on YouTube to help you get in shape effectively, quickly, and inexpensively. I mean, that shit's free. So you can check all that out there. And of course, like I said, I'm going to have some infographics there for you so that you can remember these, or at least visualize these points that Carol Dweck makes. And thank you very much for listening. And I hope you have a wonderful day.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for listening. I hope this podcast was useful to you. I want to let you know that I have more tips and workouts available on YouTube that will also help you along the way of your training. Just search Hero Bells, and please comment. I love comments. Like and subscribe, turn on notifications, and check in often. Thanks so much again. Have a great day.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.